Right, okay guys, welcome to the channel again on tinnitus. This is going to be quite a short video, not too long. It's not going to be into great scientific depth. It's going to be a short video on caffeine, the stimulant which we are all used to taking in our coffee, in our tea, etc. And the effects on our central nervous system and tinnitus, and how it can, for a lot of people, and certainly does for me, it can spike my tinnitus. And so what's happening there? How does it spike our tinnitus? Um, and what do we have to really sort of be careful about with caffeine, especially if we have tinnitus? Well, first of all, we know that we have our caffeine in the morning, we have it in our coffee, we have it in our tea. We also know that once we've had our drink of coffee, we generally feel a bit more stimulated, more ready for the day ahead. So it kind of wakes us up and gets us going. We also find out that during the day, when we have our feeling tired and our energy levels seem to drop, etc., we can reach for that coffee, and once again, it can stimulate us. It stimulates our central nervous system, stimulates the brain, the neurons in the brain, and it gets us going, gets us to be able to think more clearly, be able to concentrate in more depth, all these sorts of things. So what's going on and how does it do it? Well, first of all, then, we have our central nervous system. So this is all the neurons in the brain, the central nervous system, etc., which basically controls how we think, how our body works, all those mechanisms for sending signals to all the organs and all the rest of it. But what do we find happens when we drink our coffee? Well, we stimulate our central nervous system. So in other words, the activity in our brain increases. The neurons is what the cells in our brain are neurons. The brain comprises of millions and billions of neurons, and all these neurons send signals to each other in between the neurons. So from one neuron to the next is what we call the synapse, and between that there is neurotransmitters. So it's little chemicals which are allowed to bind, etc., and send signals between the neurons. And these are what's, if you like, memories are made from, is these firing of these synapses, etc. We call it an action potential. So it's a firing of the synapses, and the signals passing between them allow us to think, and obviously to carry on our duties in life and all the rest of it. So it's how our computer is made, if you like, in our head, is made of neurons. So that's how we have our, if you like, our electrical wiring. So what we do is when we have our caffeine, we stimulate the number of electrical signals in our brain. It's as simple as that. It becomes stimulated much more. And that allows us to concentrate more heavily, and also to feel more energized, and to feel stimulated for the day. So how can caffeine alter the way we stimulate? So how can it increase the stimulation of the central nervous system, and what's going on? And how can that obviously alter our perception of tinnitus? Well, first of all, then, what does caffeine do? Well, we have our drink of coffee. The caffeine goes through our digestive system, and then it passes into our circulatory system, where it can travel to the brain. And in the brain, there it has effects on all the chemicals in the brain. Some of these effects obviously stimulate the brain. So how does it stimulate the brain? Well, in our brain, we have different chemicals. I'm just not going to go into great detail on these. I'm going to make it quite simple. One of them is called GABA. Now, if you've got lots of GABA being produced in your brain, and lots of it is in your brain as such, at high concentrations, what you'll do is you'll feel very relaxed. And so it's relaxant. It relaxes the central nervous system, if you like. So it's relaxant. So it'll make you feel relaxed. To increase this, for example, doctors may give somebody who's very anxious benzodiazepines. So that will increase the amount of GABA in your brain, and you'll end up relaxing. I've had diazepam. I don't want to go on that story, and believe me, it does relax you. So GABA really relaxes your body and your mind, and it makes you feel very relaxed. So it's a central nervous system depressant, basically. It makes you feel relaxed. So for most people, you're going to need your GABA. Right. The other thing is adenosine. So adenosine is another chemical which builds up during the day in your brain, and that's once again, it binds to certain receptors in the brain on the neurons, and that enables you to feel once again relaxed and tired and want to go to sleep. So that's another important one. So them are the two relaxants, if you like, GABA and adenosine. So them are the two chemicals in your brain which you're going to need at a fairly good level in order to feel nice and relaxed and tired and wanting to go to bed and sleep. So what happens is that when we have our coffee and our caffeine, the caffeine actually interacts with the production of these chemicals, if you like. And for GABA, it actually reduces the amount of GABA that's going to be released into the brain. So if it's stopping the production of GABA in the brain, then what it will do is it will send your nervous system higher, because actually you haven't got your GABA anymore. So it's going to mean your central nervous system is going to go higher. So there's no brakes, if you like, on the electrical signals. And it works exactly the same with adenosine as well. So caffeine stops, it actually blocks the receptors where adenosine would attach to, and it once again, it stops adenosine relaxing the brain. So what we've got then is our caffeine coming in. We've got the adenosine and the GABA, which normally make you feel relaxed. They're being stopped because you're drinking your caffeine, so you're not getting them two relaxants to start with. So that's your first problem you've got with caffeine. So that's how you feel more stimulated. No GABA, if you like, and then very little adenosine as well. So that's how you get stimulated. Now the other problem is there's also glutamate being produced. Glutamate's normally produced, and that makes you feel actually more active. Now, caffeine does the thing of actually producing more glutamate, so it stimulates it even more. So not only have you got the inhibition of your central nervous system being stopped so it can jump higher, but you've also got glutamate being produced more, because caffeine stimulates the production of glutamate. So what it does is it goes higher, and that once again, it produces a central nervous system which is overstimulated. So really then we've got this overstimulation of the central nervous system. Now normally that's not going to be a huge problem, because what will happen is you'll have just a small cup of coffee and you'll go about your duties, and it's broken down in your system and it'll be removed. So over a period of time your caffeine levels drop and things balance off again. And also, over a long period of time, drinking coffee for a long period of time, we always get the position where your body likes to be at a certain level, and all this stimulation starts to reduce to some extent anyway. So you do find that when you're a regular coffee drinker, then it's not going to usually affect you. But if you're just a moderate drinker, you do see these ups and downs. So caffeine does stimulate the central nervous system. We know that. Now, how can this affect our tinnitus? Well, first of all, then, as far as I'm concerned, it does affect our tinnitus. And there are different studies which show that long-term drinking of caffeine doesn't essentially cause us huge problems as regards to bringing on tinnitus. The studies seem to prove that. But what we do find is that there are quite a lot of studies which have shown that they do obviously enhance our tinnitus perception. And what it does that, as far as I'm concerned, is once you get your central nervous system tightened, all your senses improve. So obviously concentration improves, and all those areas of the brain which are associated with the production of signals coming from your ear, etc., once again are improved. And that area of the brain which obviously picks up the tinnitus as well, that's more stimulated as well. So you once again, you hear tinnitus higher. Once it relaxes, your tinnitus should obviously drop down again once you stimulate. The stimulating side of caffeine has been reduced and it's out of your body, and then you should find that your tinnitus reduces again and goes back to a normal base level. So what I'm saying is caffeine definitely stimulates your brain. It definitely stimulates your central nervous system. And we know how that happens, i.e. through, once again, the adenosine, the GABA and the glutamate. So we know that happens. And we know it should if you're looking at what's going on within the brain and the central nervous system, I can see why it does spike your tinnitus. So what I'm saying is, for me personally, I make sure that I don't have too much caffeine. I don't become overstimulated, because overstimulation to me gives me anxiety, and anxiety causes you to become even more overstimulated. You release more adrenaline and the cortisol, obviously, as well. And then once again, you'll be overstimulating again your central nervous system. The more you overstimulate, the more you're going to hear that tinnitus. It's simple as that. And that's my opinion on it. It happens to me, and it's the way I believe it works if you're looking at neurons in the brain. And as I say, with the neurotransmitters and all the rest of the chemicals involved. So overstimulation does appear to cause problems. So what I would say is, limit us, if you can, the amount of caffeine. You don't have to cut it out. All I'm saying is just limit it. Don't be going too mad at your caffeine, because you will find, in my opinion, that it will overstimulate your brain and you'll eat tinnitus more. So really, that's it on the if you like, on caffeine. There's not really that much more to say about it. There are L-theanine and such like that, which can have a calming effect on the brain. And that's another thing is I tend to have green teas at time when I feel a little bit overstimulated, and that can help you reduce your central nervous system again and produce this calming effect. So that's it on caffeine then, and coffee. So that's it, guys, and I hope you enjoyed the video.